Marshall University receiver Randy Moss had good reason to expect to hear his name called early during the 1998 NFL Draft, after off-field issues derailed his attempts at starring for both Notre Dame and Florida State. Moss exploded for 96 catches, 1,820 yards, and 26 touchdowns during his lone season at Marshall in 1997. Despite being a wide receiver at a mid-major program, Moss finished fourth in the Heisman Trophy voting behind only Michigan cornerback Charles Woodson, Tennessee quarterback Peyton Manning, and Washington State signal caller Ryan Leaf, as in 3 of the first 4 picks in the 1998 draft. Naturally, Moss expected he'd be among the first players taken on draft day. The Indianapolis Colts needed a quarterback, and they took Manning, which worked out perfectly. The San Diego Chargers picked second. They followed the Colts and took a quarterback, but they went with Leaf. That one didn't work out as well. 5 more teams, including the Oakland Raiders, passed on Moss. Oakland went with Woodson, a move the team likely doesn't regret. All of that was fine because Moss expected the Dallas Cowboys to select him with the 8th overall pick. Although the Cowboys were fresh off a disappointing 6-10 season, America's team still had the big 3: quarterback Troy Aikman, running back Emmitt Smith, and wide receiver Michael Irvin. Dallas also had the likes of All-Pro guard Larry Allen and veteran standout offensive tackle Nate Newton dominating in the trenches. Make no mistake, Cowboys owner Jerry Jones wanted to use the 8th overall pick on Moss. Although Moss's only meaningful college action came in the Mid-American Conference, he terrorized opposing defenses with his 6'3" frame. So, why didn't Jones make the move? According to former Minnesota Vikings star receiver and current NFL Network contributor Chris Carter, the Cowboys were hesitant to draft Moss because of his off-field history. Moss pleaded guilty to 2 counts of misdemeanor battery following a racially charged fight in high school, a move that cost him his spot at Notre Dame. Although Moss enrolled at Florida State ahead of the 1995 season, FSU dismissed him following a positive marijuana test, which violated the terms of his probation. Various legal incidents had tarnished the Cowboys' reputation in recent years, and Jones didn't want to gamble on another player with red flags. Instead, the Cowboys, who told Moss they planned to draft him, selected North Carolina pass rusher Greg Ellis 8th overall. Ellis tallied 77 sacks and 23 forced fumbles in 11 seasons with the Cowboys and earned Pro Bowl honors in 2007. Not bad. Just not what Moss did after the Vikings selected him 21st overall. In fact, Moss made the Cowboys pay several months later when he recorded 163 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns in a Thanksgiving Day victory over Dallas. Let's fast forward to 2010. In an interview with reporters ahead of a Vikings-Cowboys game that year, Moss recalled how upset he and his family were when Dallas passed on drafting him 12 years earlier. Quote, that my mom didn't really care too much about the boys, and just seeing her facial expression and how she looked, I really took that to heart, man, and I told myself anytime I play the Dallas Cowboys, I'm never going to forget that look. End quote. Interestingly, Jones and Irvin each apologized for Dallas's decision not to draft Moss. Irvin even acknowledged that his own behavior and history of off-field transgressions made the Cowboys afraid to select Moss. Counting a January 2000 playoff victory over the Cowboys, Moss totaled 40 catches, 789 yards, and 10 touchdowns in 8 career outings against America's team. His teams, including the legendary 2007 New England Patriots, went a perfect 8-0 in those games. That'll do, Randy. That'll do. Nearly 25 years later, we're left to wonder what would have happened had the Cowboys selected Moss 8th overall in 1998. Now that what if should speak for itself considering Moss's talent and the fact he retired following the 2012 season as one of the greatest receivers in NFL history. However, we're also left to think about the Vikings here. Carter acknowledged in his 2013 book Going Deep that he had expected Minnesota to add a defensive player during the 1998 draft's first round. If Moss wasn't available, might Minnesota have instead targeted a defensive back like Syracuse's Bucky Jones or Oklahoma State's R.W. McQuarters? We also have to wonder how Moss's presence would have impacted the post-Troy Aikman era. Remember, Dallas tried several different options at quarterback, ranging from former MLB pitcher Chad Hutchinson to New England Patriots great Drew Bledsoe, until Tony Romo emerged as the starter midway through the 2006 season. Would the Cowboys have prioritized finding a legitimate franchise quarterback sooner, knowing they had an all-pro talent in Moss? Here on Legacy Library, these are the chapters in sports we love exploring. Thank you for watching. Make sure to like the video and subscribe, and please stay tuned for more.